with Mo podcast, the podcast that discusses all mental health issues and wellness issues. We get different guests from around the world that share their amazing stories and journeys through difficult and challenging times. Welcome back to another episode with Wellness with Mo. Hi, my name is Mo, and in this week's episode, we have an amazing guest. She's the owner of the Wellness in Harmony. Today, our guest is none other than Linda Dieffenbach. I hope I got it right. Again, I do apologize. I'm really bad in names.
You did perfectly.
Hi, Linda. How are you? How's everything?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm fine. I'm really excited, and I know it's been a long time for us planning this episodes. You had some issues in terms of the weather, and I had some issues in terms of the timing. So I'm really glad that we finally met. Thank God for technology. Also, Zoom is, it's an amazing technology. So thank God it makes us get closer to each other. So I'm really glad that you're with us today. And as I was telling you before we recorded, I've read your bio. I've watched some of the videos, and I'm really interested to know more about you as a human being, as someone who definitely had an interesting journey. Recently, one of the guests, I told her that it's very weird to find that all of us we meet, because we all have different stories to share, and our stories end up to being our initial passion and job and message. So Linda, thank you for being with us. I would like to start off with a very simple question. Can you share with us your journey, please?
Sure. I think that ultimately I was born into this work. I was born to be a helper, to be a caregiver, to be a healer. And however, my personal journey that brought me specifically into this work that I do now, into the chakra healing work and energy work and coaching, really stemmed from my own personal quest for healing for myself. I'd experienced a lot of trauma in my childhood. I didn't really understand what it was or what to do with it, but I had a lot of pain that I was carrying in my body, and I really struggled a lot. And I was really desperately looking for help. I wanted to find some way to make sense of my life and feel, get to know who I was. I really felt disconnected from myself. I was disconnected from my emotions. I struggled in relationships. I struggled in so many aspects of my life, and I desperately wanted help, and I didn't know where to go to find it. I had gone to the more traditional Western, therapy and things like that. I had actually, as a teenager, I had attempted to take my life and had been hospitalized for a period of time, and I was really, at that time, like really screaming for help, desperately wanting help. And unfortunately, what I was met with was re-traumatization. I had been told by therapists and people who I was going to for help that essentially my life was perfect. My life was fine. There was nothing wrong with my life other than me. So that obviously was very, very painful for me and very difficult for me. And that caused a lot of damage. It really caused me to get into a lot of unhealthy patterns. And I kept looking, reaching out for people. And I had some therapists that were fine, but they weren't able to really support me in the way that I needed. So when I stumbled across Reiki, I was part of an online community, and the woman who ran the community was a Reiki master, and she offered to teach it to those of us in the community. So I read about it. I knew nothing about it. I had no experience with it. I didn't understand anything about the chakra system or energy or any of those things. But when I read about it, I was like, okay, I need this.
Mm.
And I signed up immediately to learn all three levels and started my process of learning with her.
Okay.
And Reiki was really pivotal for me, in that it gave me a tool to help me take care of myself and support myself. But it led me down the rabbit hole of all of
Mm.
the other aspects of energy healing. The the most powerful experience that I had was when I met my mentor, Elizabeth Frediani, who she developed she's developed a number of modalities, including one called chakra healing with applied integration.
Mm.
And I met her through a meditation class that I did, and I went to see her. And when I did a series of three sessions with her, three private sessions with her, and I made more progress in those
Mm.
3 years with her, or sorry, three sessions with her than I had ever, in
Okay.
all the years
Okay.
of trying therapy and traditional methods and everything. And it was so powerful because what this work does is it cuts through the bullshit. It
Yeah.
cuts through all of the defensive strategies. And I was very good at avoiding things. That was how I was conditioned. That was how my
Mm.
family dealt with things, was we just don't look at it. We don't talk about it. We don't deal with it. So I was very repressed. I
Mm.
could talk to a therapist for hours about nothing.
Mm.
But with her, she was not just listening to what I was saying, but she's tuned into my energy field. She's
Okay.
reading my chakras as I'm talking, and she's constantly redirecting me back in, like, okay, let's go here, let's go here. And I don't want to say forced, because it was a very gentle and powerful and loving process, but it
Mm.
it moved me into a space where it allowed me to connect with and work through all of these underlying core issues that I had.
Mm. Mm.
So that really was probably the most powerful experience for me in my life. And not long after, she offered those of us in the class that we were in with her to teach us this. So of course, again, I was a social worker, I'm a caregiver. So I was like,
Mm.
please, yes, sign me up. I have got to learn how to do this,
Yeah.
so that I can do this for others. So that was
Yeah.
the beginning of my journey.
That's amazing. What you're saying about traumas and things, because I think when I was talking with Elizabeth Keep, uh,
Elizabeth Kepka.
yeah, we were talking about also chronic pain and traumas and how parents subconsciously traumatize their children without them knowing, and it really impacts them. And for me, I had this really big issue, which is bullying. I was bullied a lot when I was young. The reason being was that my father was a diplomat with the Egyptian Foreign Ministry, and so we
Mhm.
traveled different countries, different cultures, different languages, different schoolings, different people. So
Mhm.
I told Elizabeth, and I want to share it with you also, that I would indirectly I was bullied when I was outside of Egypt, abroad,
Yeah.
and when I was back in Egypt, in my home country, in my homeland, I was also bullied. I didn't fit in
Mhm.
either as a an open-minded human being who's open to other Western and other cultures, or I fit, or even fitting in the Egyptian culture, which is very, I mean, at that time, of course, it was very closed culture. We're talking about the 90s. It wasn't really not like today. I mean, today Egypt is so open that everyone knows everything, and I don't feel like a stranger. But I kept on feeling that going 4 years there, getting bullied, and then coming back indirectly. Even I mean, it was I had such a culture shock. I came back from Australia. My father was in the consulate, and that was in the late 80s, and I had the biggest culture shock because I didn't know how to act around. I was in the seventh grade. I didn't know how to act around the girls, or I didn't even know how to act around the guys. The guys thought I was like too good for them, and the girls didn't really like uh, being close to guys because that would give, a wrong message in terms of our society that this guy likes this girl. And in actual fact, I was very innocent. I just wanted to have friends. So I didn't mind to have girls who are my friends and guys who are my friends. Um, and then, the trauma also continued when I left the big telecommunication, because I had already suffered a whole year of unemployment. And then I suffered even more because I went into a state of depression during those 2 years. And like you said,
Mhm.
the closest people to you will always sweep it under the rug. It's just in your head. Whatever you're thinking is just in your head. You have to open up. You have to loosen a little bit. It wasn't easy. I was trying to tell them indirectly, hey guys, it's not easy what I'm saying. I'm depressed. I cannot, it's not an on and off switch for me to go from being an okay person to going to be a depressed person, then becoming okay again. It doesn't work like that. It takes time and takes process. And to be honest, corporate life doesn't really give you that luxury of time to deal with your mess. So I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I understand the ideas of the trauma, and I know that these things shape us. Today, for me, it shaped me as a very persistent, very resilient person, uh, a person that I wouldn't say suffered in a lot of things, but has his fair share of challenges. Let's put it in that sense. It might not be as challenging as your story or Elizabeth or others, but everyone has his story to be challenged. So what I wanted to really know more from you, Linda, is um, what is a chakra and what is a chakra healer? And I know there are different levels. Uh, I'm a very spiritual person, because of my religion also, which is Islam. And if for those who don't know what it is, Islam is very close to meditation in a lot of things, because we are totally present at that moment between us and our creator. Nothing around us matters except our direct communication to God. And the same thing with meditation. I mean, even after our prayers, we do some affirmations and some things like that to give thanks, be grateful for living, be grateful for our health, for the health of my kids, the health of my wife. But I was I always I understand that we're beings moved by energy, but I really don't understand what is the chakra and how it deals with healing. So why don't you tell us a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So your chakras there's seven core chakras. So we're first of all just starting out, the important to understand that our bodies are energy. If you go from the basic science of the universe, there's two things that exist, energy and matter. So in our bodies, there are channels of energy that flow through our body in various ways. We also have seven core energy centers that run along from the top of our head down to the base of our spine. And those are the chakras. So for those who can see the chakras, I'm not one of them, but for those who can see them, they are cone shaped. They're
Mm,
located along, like just in front of the spine and the body, their center point, and then they're cone shaped, opening to the front and back of the body.
okay.
Um, there's um, two chakras at the top and the bottom. So the root chakra is at the base of the spine, and that one is one direction opening towards the earth. And then the crown chakra at the top of the head opens towards the universe. All of the others are two directional. But what they are is they're energy transmitters, energy receivers. And so as we're interacting, like just now, like I'm transmitting energy through talking and interacting with you, you're receiving energy from me and vice versa. So our chakras are part of that process.
Okay.
So as we're interacting with the world, we have energy flowing constantly in and out of our body, that's communicating with the world around us on an energetic level. And so that's one basic element of the chakras. They act as energy filters. They constantly open and close to allow or disallow energy to flow. So for example, if you've ever been choked up, you've ever had that feeling where either you're trying to say something or you have a big emotion welling up and you feel this, like your throat locks. You feel this tightness. That's your throat chakra shutting, closing, blocking the flow of energy, the expression of whatever it is that you're carrying in your body from flowing out effectively. So in that functionality, they naturally open and close. Just as you move through your day, as you're encountering, when they're healthy, as you're encountering energies that are pleasant and enjoyable, you're communicating with others, engaged in the world around you, out in nature, they're open and flowing and receiving energy. And when you're in situations where there's energy that you maybe don't want to receive, you're in an uncomfortable situation, you're around something or someone that doesn't feel safe, then those energy centers are going to close and filter out that energy.
Okay.
And vice versa. So that's the very basic function of the chakras, but much more significant is that they're also consciousness centers. So they actually oversee key elements of our life experience. And we experience our life not just in our mind as a mental experience, but we literally experience it through energy and through our body.
Okay.
So the 7 chakras that start at the base of your spine, that's your root chakra. And then the second chakra is the sacral, that's just below your navel. Solar plexus, just above the navel. Heart chakra, center of the chest, near your physical heart. Throat chakra, base of the neck. Third eye or brow chakra, center of the forehead, and then the crown chakra, top of the head. It's a very basic, what each one is about. Your root chakra is about safety, security, survival. So this one is connected to the earth. This one is where we develop our sense of trust in life, trust in the world. You mentioned the pandemic earlier when we were talking. That is such a very profound example of how the world's sense of safety and survival was rocked to its core. And you could see the consciousness of that, of the root chakra energy and the disruption in the root chakra acting out in the various things that people did in response to that, such as hoarding behavior, and a lot of fear-based behavior and things of that nature that were happening throughout the world as we're trying to navigate that whole experience, which was, just cultivated multiple levels of fear and multiple levels of insecurity, having jobs go away and all of those things that happened, losing so many loved ones and friends and so much going on, like all of that had a really profound impact on the root chakra, also including the disconnection, because the big core element of the root chakra in safety and survival is also belonging, feeling like you're belonging in the world. So like you mentioned being bullied, that is an experience that would have a powerful impact on your root chakra, because the community around you, the peers around you are telling you in various ways that you don't belong. And one of the reasons why this one is so profoundly impacted in the root chakra is, if you think about historically, this is not as obvious. It's very core in our survival, but we're not as aware of it anymore. Our ability to survive in the world um, going back into tribal lifestyles and tribal culture,
Yeah.
we are 100% dependent on each other to survive.
Yes. Yes.
So if you were in a tribe or some type of like community or
Mm.
family and you were rejected, ostracized, shunned, kicked out,
Yeah.
how do you survive?
You can't survive because naturally human beings are social animals, and as such they need to have social connections. And this is why the pandemic, when it came, it offered a big, like a big slap on the face for humanity as a whole, because uh, uh, we cannot even communicate, touch, feel, hug. You know, you want to hug your loved ones. You want to touch your son's hand, your daughter's hand, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I understand. But let me ask you this question, because I was thinking about it when you were explaining. So that does that mean, when like they say, if you are a positive person, if there's positivity coming out of you, giving me positive energy, so that will make me more, a positive. It will give me a positive energy and will give me a boost in my day, opposed to someone who's always negative. If I sit with that person, or he or she will put me down, 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 and I'll see the world as, black as the night, as they would say. So is that where the chakra plays also? It might be a very silly question, but I just wanted to, get to know, because I'm really interested.
Yeah, so I think it's more specific to how you carry your own energy in that context,
Mm,
and how secure you are in your own energy.
mm,
So if you're generally speaking more of the mindset where you are approaching life with gratitude, you're approaching life with a sense of openness and feeling that you're supported by the universe, able, feeling connected to yourself, being, feeling in connection with the world around you, in an uplifting, supportive kind of way, then that's going to have a big impact on how your energy presents to the world.
okay.
Um, Whereas if you're um, more in a fear-based mindset, where you're, or you're inundated, culturally, we're inundated with a lot of fear-based
Yeah.
information. If you're in more of a fear-based mindset, you're feeling insecure, you're not trusting the universe, you're not trusting the world, you're not trusting yourself, you're not
Mm,
trusting the community around you, you don't feel safe in the world, you don't feel like you're um, you're not feeling connected, you're not feeling loved, you're struggling with um, struggling with life and dealing with a lot of hardship, then that can certainly have a harmful impact on your energy field, your personal energy field. How
okay.
that affects those around you, it can certainly, like, our energy is communicating with each other, and it can certainly impact
Mm,
how others feel when they're in our presence. So if we're struggling with depression and we're struggling with feeling very unhappy in the world, unhappy in our lives, then that does pull on the energy of others and can impact the energy of others, and vice versa. So like
mm,
when you're feeling good and you're connected and you have that sense of support and trust in the world, and you have that vibrancy and charisma and all of those higher vibrational energies, that impacts the world around you too. So they do play off of each other, certainly, and the reception and sending of that is happening through the energy system.
yeah.
But also, go ahead.
Yeah, because
Go ahead.
what I also read was, if you want to be a successful person in the world, naturally, you have to be surrounded by successful people, because what they say, or the author or the literature that was said, that when you seek success and you're surrounded with successful people, so it really rubs on you to become successful. So I think it's also, I mean, I don't know. I'm asking you. that the chakra plays in that area also, that the energy that's coming from these successful people is being handed to me or rubbed on me so that I can become as successful as they are. I'm just asking the question on top of the previous one, because I'm just
Yeah.
really interested if that is true
Mhm.
or not.
Um, yes, I mean, we certainly, our energies feed off of one another.
Mm.
There's a lot of other factors going on there as well, though. But when you are surrounding yourself with um, those who are not motivated,
Mm.
those who are maybe struggling a lot, then you can get pulled into that lack of motivation and that mindset energetically, and get pulled into similar patterns of behavior. Whereas when you're surrounded by people who are motivated, who are successful, who are really vibrant and engaged, that's going to have an impact on your energy field as well. And also be a motivating factor for you. So some of it is energetic and some of it is um, modeling.
Okay.
You're
All right.
seeing things that they're doing and you're getting ideas, and you're also getting the community benefit of that energetic uplifting that can happen. And there's also resonance, like
Okay.
musically, you think about resonance. So
Exactly.
vibrations move together. So that kind of
Uh,
energy also moves within the group that you're connecting with and where you're spending your time.
so let me also ask you. So today, if I want to seek someone like yourself, um, what is the approach that you take in healing a person who has, I mean, depression, or who has some mental issues? What is the approach you do, and do the personal beliefs of people impact the way you deal with the chakra for them? I mean, uh, I myself, I'm a Muslim, but I believe in being spiritual and being very close.
Mm.
So that doesn't really have any kind of opposite effect. I mean, it doesn't. It's part of our religion to be close to God, to be close to whoever we believe in. Because, as you know, I meet a lot of other people. So whoever you believe in is it makes you more spiritual. But I don't know. I don't think if I was depressed, I don't know how that will heal me. What are the tools that you do so you can make me, I'm not going to say not depressed, but a little bit positive and optimistic.
So I want to qualify, first of all, there's very different ways in which people approach and understand the concept of chakra healing or chakra balancing. And the work that I do, like most commonly, it is in the format of something like Reiki, where there's a energy healing process that occurs on a massage table. It's a very passive process, and which is a wonderful process. But the work that I do is actually much more of an active process,
Mm.
where you come into my office or we meet online via Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
and we start having a conversation about what's going on in your world, what's happening.
Mm.
And throughout that process, as you're talking and sharing, and we're exploring, whatever it is that's most present for you, that's most challenging for you, I'm tuned into your energy system. I'm listening to your chakras as well.
Mm.
And through that, I'm identifying the core patterns and the underlying root causes of what's
Mm.
going on, what's created this. So looking for the threads of underlying traumatic experiences, conditioning, and various things that have happened throughout your journey that has created the underlying foundation of whatever the imbalance or the challenge is.
So
And
you basically coach. You basically, it's a basically a coaching session to find the underlying issues that is bothering him, and maybe that person is not able to explain it clearly, but you would understand through the energy that is being given out of him or being emitted from that person. Is that correct? What are you saying? I'm just
Yeah, it's through there's an energetic element, but it's also through the stories that they're sharing, the patterns that are emerging through the survival strategies and behavioral strategies that they've adapted and adopted in order to navigate the pain and, the wounds that they're carrying in their body through their trauma or through their conditioning or through whatever that experience is.
hmm,
And so once we get some clarity around that, then we start moving into can be any number of different strategies and practices and modalities to unwind
hmm,
and address those underlying issues, which involves some very conscious integration and practical skill work that
hmm,
the person will engage in. So, for example, you're going back to the chakras. Um, Say they have some significant sacral chakra imbalances. So sacral chakra has to do with how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture others, how we receive nurturing from people. It's a very creative center. It also
hmm.
has to do with how we energetically merge and keep ourselves separate and filter our energy and maintain and contain our energy with others. So it's very strongly related, for example, to boundaries.
Okay.
And so if somebody shows up with some challenges related to their boundaries or related to, we'll keep it simple. So we'll focus on boundaries.
Okay.
So they have perhaps very weak boundaries in their relationships,
Yeah.
where they don't speak up for their needs. They put everyone else's needs in front of theirs. They, maybe have poor boundaries between their work and their life. So they're, overworking and overgiving to their employer or to their whatever their
Hmm,
vocation is. um that's the area that we're going to look at is what's the underlying causal factors around this, but then what have the lack of boundaries is the um one of the expressions of the imbalance
okay.
within
Okay.
that center. So then it becomes a practice of learning how to create healthy boundaries, learning
Hmm,
how to actually give voice to your boundaries, which is not an easy thing to do. If you spent your entire life yesing the entire world and
hmm,
not speaking up for yourself and not protecting yourself and not protecting your energy, there's a lot going on in the body when you turn around and say the word no.
hmm.
It's terrifying potentially. So
Yeah.
we have to work with the energy with that, helping to create some safety around it and learn the skill of one, just identifying what your boundaries are,
Hmm,
because you're not going to potentially know that, being able to
hmm,
identify what they are, and then start finding, as an example, finding safe people to start
hmm.
establishing boundaries so you can work on developing that energetic skill and build those muscles, so to speak, so that you can become stronger and stronger in that area and start making it a core practice. And as you do that, the imbalance in that energy in that sacral area is going to start to unwind.
Okay. So what I mean, what you're saying is really interesting because it got me thinking. Um, I don't know why in Egypt there is the Reiki practice. There are practitioners here. There are a lot, but I've been advocating for mental health I mean, ever since the pandemic hit hard because that is when I felt it. That is when everyone felt it. And I always tell everyone that's really involved in mental health, I'm really disappointed in corporates because I thought they learned their lesson. I thought that lesson should have been engraved in their back of their mind that the well-being and wellness of their employees is essential, is is there's no bargaining chip for it, because there's no company that can move and work without a healthy employees. So you're talking about setting boundaries and things like that. So do you think corporates would knowing chakras healing would it help corporates to understand their employees better? Maybe. Why is that person doing that? Why is that person always saying yes to me and not saying no? I want him to say no. I don't want him to be a people pleaser. Why is this person a perfectionist? And there's no such thing as being a perfectionist, because you cannot be perfect 100%. If you do that, then you might as well do all the work. So do you think the chakras could help employers understand more about their employees?
Well, I think it could,
Mm,
just in the similar way that employers getting educated about mental health in general could potentially be helpful. The problem is that they benefit from the lack of boundaries. They
mm,
benefit from the stress and anxiety that there's a cost,
mm,
but there's an immediate benefit. There's an immediate benefit to being in a relationship with somebody who is a yes person, who is going to sacrifice themselves for your needs. So
mm,
they're going to take care of me, and that feels good to me. So I can depend on them to drop everything and do whatever I want for them. And they don't necessarily account for the long-term cost of that type of behavior or pattern. There are some companies that do, and that
mm.
do actually recognize um, that taking care of their employees and creating a healthy lifestyle for their employees, creating a healthy workplace for their employees is beneficial to the company as a whole on a lot of different levels, between productivity and insurance costs and all sorts of things, morale, the list goes on and on and on. However, if they're only looking at the monetary numbers and they're not looking at the deeper impact, this is life. If we're not looking at the underlying circumstances and what's creating problems versus what is beneficial, they're not going to care.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Even
so
even
there are companies who
even
are taking.
even
It,
at your end
yeah.
in the States, are there companies who don't really care about their employees even today after what they've seen from the pandemic?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of companies that don't care about their employees, and then there's a lot of companies who are starting to wake up and realize, and they're putting in wellness programs. Part of the reason that they're putting in wellness programs is because they are required to by the insurance companies, the health insurance companies.
Mm,
However, when they're actually actively implementing those programs, they are starting to see the benefits of promoting employee wellness. But there are
mm,
plenty of companies who don't really care,
mm.
that don't really recognize the value of it as a whole.
Mm.
They're really just looking at the dollar. And
Yeah,
am I making
yeah,
profit? And that's all I care about. And I don't care if I do it on the backs of whomever. Yeah, that's absolutely still very real
yeah,
here as much as it is elsewhere in the world. There's improvement
yeah,
there, which is great, but
yeah.
we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's the same here in Egypt and maybe even in the region. Yes, mental health has increased a little bit. The stigma has lessened. Still, people don't really, don't take it serious. But still, there is the belief here that people have to work not from 9 to 5. They have to work 8, 8, 9, 10 hours a day just to make a good impression to their manager, a good impression to the management, the company, and it all goes on. It all impacts their health, their time away from their family. I've seen this in my house. I mean, my wife till now, I think she's still at work, I see it in every household here in Egypt. And the price of insurance, which is really interesting what you said, because the price of insurance here in Egypt, it has become, a benefit. Employees want the insurance. If you don't offer them medical insurance, they're not going to come and work in Egypt if you don't have medical insurance. But I always ask people from HR in different companies here in Egypt, why, if you employ mental health issues, your insurance cost will decrease. It's a logical thing, but
Right.
people want the benefit. I don't know why. I don't know why they want to do that.
They want the benefit, and the correlation between mental health and physical health is a fairly new concept in the
Mm,
world. I mean, it's a very much a reality. It's been a reality forever.
yeah.
Just as much, and the concept of energetic health, going back to the
Mm,
chakras, the concept of that is, what, that's not
mm,
something that people understand at all, but it's so closely interrelated.
mm,
Um, going back to the conversation we were having about the sacral chakra and boundaries, like, so that's talking about a behavioral expression of imbalance.
mm,
But then, you know, so what happens with the chakras is we experience our life through these energy centers based on the consciousness that's kind of overseen, or that the function of each center. So
yes.
when we have traumatic experiences and chronic conditioning that impacts it and creates an imbalance, that energy and that imbalance, if it's not addressed, if it's not healed, if it's not processed and digested in the body,
Yeah.
then it becomes a chronic condition. So chronic, in the initial expression would be, as an example, the weakness in or lack of healthy boundaries.
Mm,
Over time, if the issue's not resolved, if the behavior isn't changed, if the underlying cause isn't addressed, then
mm,
it begins to translate into physical issues.
mm,
Then that's where the health issues come in, where somebody who struggles with self-nurturing, struggles with boundaries, struggles with maintaining their energy, and other sacral chakra issues, that is
mm,
then going to manifest physically as chronic conditions in that area of the body. So issues with the female reproductive system, issues with the bowels and like IBS and all of those things, which, can then manifest into actual diseases.
mm, mm,
Um, Whereas when we take the time and put in the effort to address those underlying issues and process and heal them, those past traumas, those past events, and
mm,
unwind and unravel. And this is a more complicated one, but unwinding and unraveling the damaging conditioning that we're raised in,
mm,
then we can actually heal those centers and
mm,
prevent
mm,
more problems. The depression, the anxiety, the physical issues, cancer, heart disease, all of those things are
mm.
not just physical, they're also energetic.
Okay. Okay. So I wanted to ask you also, what are the top five advices for mental health, or what top advices from yourself on mental health would you give anybody who's listening to us?
There
Sorry,
you are.
sorry,
It's okay.
the internet fell. So, what are the top five advices would you give on mental health?
So I think the number one thing that I would recommend
Mm,
is self-compassion.
okay.
Um, self-compassion especially, is such a vital part of our health and well-being.
Mm,
We tend to be very self-critical, very self-judgmental, very hard on
mm,
ourselves. If we make a mistake, our self-talk around that, we're telling ourselves we're stupid, we're not good enough, we're, any number of things. If we have injury in the body or something happening in our body that is less than desirable, we're very self-critical of our bodies. Even when our body is in prime health, we can be very self-critical of our bodies. We're self-critical of emotions, so many ways in our lives that we're just very, very hard on ourselves and oftentimes downright cruel to ourselves.
Okay. Okay.
Treating it is hard. Well,
Yeah.
not, if we're having a bad day, simply acknowledge it. This is really hard. We're going through a tough period. This is really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Changing.
Sorry for the technical issue.
It's okay. It's okay. That is just the nature of things.
Yeah.
So anyway, just being kinder to ourselves, developing a kinder, more compassionate, supportive language for ourselves is the number one thing.
Okay.
The second thing I would recommend is do your inner work.
Okay.
Healing is not an easy process. It's not something that we go to until we're in so much pain. We feel like, the pain becomes so unbearable that we're willing to go through the difficulty. But why wait till you're in extreme pain? Like, do your inner work now and take steps to address, the past experiences and the things in your life that are not working. And while it's not an easy process, the rewards are incredible and it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you two more questions, if you don't mind. I mean,
okay.
Because I'm afraid of the internet's going to break again. So I want one word or one sentence that describes Linda. So what's one word that describes Linda, or one sentence?
Wow. All right. I never really had to do this one quite before. Compassionate.
Yeah, I can feel that. I can feel that from my side of the world. Yeah, that's great. And finally, Linda, what's your dream? Hopefully to come to Egypt, of course, but what's your dream?
Love to come to Egypt. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
is my
hope
dream?
so.
Through the work that I do, my dream is to be able to, um, create a world with more kindness, more healthy people, where people are able to actually feel more connected with themselves and move through life with less pain and less discomfort and less trauma and be less driven by those things and more driven by their sense of wellness and love and compassion, and just able to feel more connected with self and through that feeling more connected with each other. So yeah, that would be my dream.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda, for being with us today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I learned a lot about chakrams, and I think I'm gonna read up more, because I like to read about meditation and mindfulness, and it's not just because this is what I do, but I like that kind of work. It really intrigues me, and it's really interesting.
I
So
definitely encourage it. It's a fascinating study. There's so much to it. It's so rich and so complex, like really getting into
yeah,
understanding our energy field. I highly
yeah,
recommend learning about the chakra system.
yeah. I will do that. I will do that. It will be in my bucket list of reading books. I have a very, very big list. So thank you, Linda, for being with us. I know it's been a long time planning, but we finally did it, and I really enjoyed our time.
I'm so glad we were able to bring this together finally, and it was wonderful meeting you and connecting with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to for today's episode. Until next week, God bless you and be safe.